silver, much of it, once it gets mined, it travels and makes its way to China, where it's, goes into its end user product, whether it's an electronic, where most of it, or an industrial product, and then it gets distributed throughout the world. So that's where the bulk of silver demand's at. And when we saw this new, COVID variant, that really kind of pumped the brakes on silver's distribution channels. So we started to come back there. And then when you go to the gold market, that also looked like it was going to break out. However, the Fed started getting more and more hawkish based on the data and trying to fight inflation. So since then, prices have come down, and we're at some of these lowest levels we've seen in a while. Yeah, when you look at gold, so rewinding a few days ago, we got back to, the 1830 levels. Silver was at like 2330. We called a lot of our clients and we actually exited the positions there because of the fact that, it is yo-yoed back and forth, and it comes up to that level and it just disappoints. So we wanted to book some gains, and then hopefully we saw some more hawkishness out of the Fed, and we also saw some better economic data, and that's what would bring gold and silver back on sale, like what we saw just after the jobs report. This is peak hawkishness right now. You look at, there's panic in the bond market, there's liquidation in the stock market. Everyone's talking about rates going higher, and the reality is that if you look at the bond market, that's already been priced in. So the stock market's pricing in 4 rate hikes this year and aggressive tapering. The reality is that the Fed is screwing up, just like what they did in 2018. They tightened into a slowing economic cycle. And what that does is it causes first disinflation, then deflation. So when you go out to the second quarter, third quarter of 2022, you have a deflationary environment. That's going to be supportive for gold. Gold will act as a placeholder as people liquidate risk assets and they want to park their money somewhere. Bitcoin is not panning out on this one because it's a reflation trade. It's a risk asset. So they're liquidating Bitcoin. They're going into gold. I hope that silver, being one of the worst performing commodities in 2021.
Before we continue, help us clicking that YouTube like button and subscribe now to our channel. This shows the algorithm that you valued this information, and it helps us spread that message. Sharing is caring. And now, let's continue.
Has some of those supply chain issues resolved? The demand goes up, the supply has already been strained, and so I think that those prices go up as well.
So you actually see this as really bullish for both gold and silver?
Yes. And you could pull up the charts and highlight them in 2018. You'll see when the stock market peaks and it sells off into that tightening cycle, the tightening cycle. The Fed actually had to come out and reverse things, and they went immediately from tightening to loosening monetary policy. And I think that's what will end up happening again. Or they might not be able to do as many of the hikes as possible, and it's going to be a wait and see. So you might get 2 potential rate hikes. That's why I think gold's going to go back up to about 1900 this year. I think silver, it's always a wild card. Silver, if it's going to travel with gold and be proportionate, $1,900 gold's probably like $27 silver. But if silver gets that kind of demand push, that's where you could see that $30 to $35. I was very confident in 2020. And then we saw that silver squeeze that was developing, where there was kind of that Red Army and the mindset. They were targeting it specific. So it became obvious at that point. But generally, we usually play for something like that, have long-term options on throughout the year anyways. And that's the type of event, because silver tends to move a bit erratically, so it doesn't give you as much heads up. So you already want to be positioned in there, just like you got car insurance. You don't crash every day. You want to have that upside insurance for silver.
Now, as we look at what happened, in early 2021 with silver, with, as you mentioned, the Reddit army, right, and the silver squeeze, do you see, what are some of the price points you're looking at to make you think that might happen again if we do see silver rise?
So on silver, you have so many hurdles you have to clear. Basically, it just got to reverse course, take off over $23, 23.30 has been the recent high. $25 is the higher above that. We really got to take those out on closing basis. You need to have the miners not come in and start to hedge once we get to 25, and that's where that breakout could occur. When you start to think about it rationally, especially on silver, how cheap is too cheap? And, if you look at a long-term chart, and not going back many years, but the 2142 area, 2150 to 2142, has held several times. So that's where we're going to be adding another contract if we get that low.
I have bad news for you. If you're not rich by now, you're screwed. And if you're in debt, you're even double screwed. How so, you might wonder? Well, the sad truth is that you're working your whole life to make someone else rich. The mega corporations, the banks, the politicians, everyone is getting richer. They get your money. And what is even worse, they get your time, they get your life. You are not even in a rat race, you're in a financial prison. But what could a solution for you look like? Honestly, I don't know, but I know what a solution for me would look like. It's very simple. I use whatever money I have and I multiply it with 1,000. This could make my life much easier and probably yours as well. If you have $1,000 available and multiply this with 1,000, I believe that this could solve some financial issue for the one or the other. Of course, if you're ugly, you would have to multiply it with much more than 1,000. My name is Markus Dahn, and this is what I decided to do. I decided to 1000x my money. This is not a joke. I know what you may be thinking. What is this guy talking about? How should this work? This is not possible. Well, I made a detailed video where I laid out my plan. And some clever folks might even want to look at this plan and copy it and do exactly what I do. This is just a little hint on the side. You have two options. You leave, you forget what you have seen. You do whatever you're doing and you hope that somehow you get some other results. Good luck with that. Or you click the link below the video. You enter your email address because I'm not showing this to everybody. You at least watch my video on how I plan to 1000x my money. The choice is yours. Make the right choice. Join me. See what a different future you could have. See at least how I intend, how I plan to do the 1000x. So click on the link below, enter your email address, and I see you on the other side. Your Markus Dahn.